Today, okay, I shall start with another session. Okay, this session is very interesting, which I would say it will be very enlightening also for everyone. STEAM is one of the top topics in today's education. We have four wonderful and inspiring ladies who can share this experience and knowledge on this topic. So here is Madam Betty Tan, founder of English Corner Publishing Singapore, Miss Judy He, Senior Education Service Manager, APAC Britannica Digital Learning Australia, and Miss O Lee Fan, Product Marketing Senior Executive, together with her colleague, Dr. Norhuda Musa, a Master Trainer, both from Marshall Cavendish Education Singapore. Our moderator for this session is Mr. Keith Tong, the Managing Director of University Book Store Malaysia. I shall now pass the floor to them.
Hi everybody, I'm Betty from English Corner Publishing Singapore. I'm a publisher and I only published one title for 20 years. And one title I have survived for till now. And what is the reason do I do from the banker to a publisher? Well, that's not fun, you know. I have wondering, you know, why is it that children find learning science not an easy thing. By the time they come to 12 years old, they have to go for an examination. It's what we call the PSLE, which is a primary school living certificate. And many did not do well. And when they go to secondary schools, again, you know, you always have only one special class for what you call pure science. And there are many reasons, you know, and I find that why did children find learning science is so difficult? So perhaps that's where I started, you know, to think that, you know, how to explain children science by words, using thousands of words. Isn't it pictures would be better to explain science content? So I started to think, and I think that, and I gave up my job just to start this publishing without knowing anything. You gather the team. Well, when I was in the bank, you got plenty of money, you know, you save a lot, but you lose all just creating what I call the science adventure. It was passion and nothing else. And I started this comic because I think that the children in Singapore would learn science in a happy manner and using a lot of illustration to explain a concept. And that is how I started Science Adventure 20 years ago. Comics is just like words. We say a picture speaks 1,000 words. What about the illustration? It talks to children. And we are able to convert a science story into comics. Therefore, that's how I started the journey. I pick up, where do I start? I say, oh, at 5 years old, what do children need to learn? And therefore, we pick up major topics like they should know all about plants. But as parents, as teachers, even in a classroom, when you give examples to illustrate what is a plant, what is a living thing, what's a non-living thing, you only may be able to do one illustration. But I think children need more than that. You know, like us, you know, we don't watch one movie in our whole life. We need to watch a lot. We need to read a lot of stories. Then that makes our life even more interesting. And therefore, children need more stories on science and how to create. Oh, there's so much things to know about. Everything around us is actually science. But do we know that? Do the children know that it's called science? And that learning science is actually fun. They need to know the facts. Therefore, we will have every topic. We talk about our body, how our body works, how to look after the body, how it functions. Same for animals, how they function. Not every animal is safe to touch. Not every plant is safe to eat. And therefore, we have so much stories over the 20 years, and every book is not the same. And children continue to read Science Adventure until today, and I can say that there are many of them actually grow up with it. We explain science in many ways. You know, we have experiments. We talk about life skills, you know, so that they know that certain things they cannot do. There's so much that the books actually tells them, much more than the school tell, much more from the parents, much more from anywhere. But anything that they see around them, they don't know, you know, what is that science is actually around them. Then come to language, you know. Initially, when I started 20 years ago, school says, no, comics, ban. And what did I do? You know, I said, no, is that comics so bad? Let me show you. And with the willpower, I said, no, I'm going to show the power of comics. And definitely the language that we use is going to be a good language and not just a comic with no verb, with no phrase, no clause, no, you know, past tense and present tense. We did all this, we incorporate even the language properly. And today, schools in Singapore are happy with it. Everywhere, in Australia too, in Malaysia, and everybody is reading Science Adventures, not just about science, it's also about language. And what children want to say is, I would like to say is that children who read Science Adventure start to tell stories to their parents because everything is real. And why did children want to tell the story after reading? It's because they're actually trying to confirm, you know, something like this, you know, why do, you know, they will say, you know, why is it, let's say, they will ask the parents, you know, there are a lot of questions that I have from children, you know, they wonder, you know, why do snakes shake the skin? What is it in a kangaroo pouch? Why seawater is salty? And how does wind occur? We get a lot of children asking questions. And if parents can't answer the questions, they will make phone calls, they will drop an email. And the next topic, we will talk about it, why the water is salty. So children also contribute ideas to me. They are so lovely. They always ask. And sometimes, you know, they tell their parents, you know, this work? Do you know, Daddy, this is how it happens. And therefore, you know, that's how parents see that the power of comics makes the children learn so much, not only just learn what is all around them, they learn about animal, they know about plant, they learn about human being, they learn about themselves, they know how the liver works. So many things, you know. So sometimes I said, you know, some children learn to know about their body. And for 20 years, I can write lots of things about the body. And when children talk about it, I will tell the parents, you say, they are going to be a doctor soon, you know. Yeah. And what I can tell you is we do have topical like book on all about birds. And last year we have started using science to learn English. And this is specially made for Korea. They have been looking how to teach science and learning English at the same time. So we did this, and it's so simple. We created stories and we make children learn. You know, we ask questions, but we use science. We use science. Everything is about science. And at the same time, children are reading. See? These are what we call proper sentences. They are reading what is a dragonfly. We talk about dragonfly, and it's very simple for kindergarten. We talk about art, and today our book is we incorporate art in science, which is STEAM. And why is art important? Even myself, I have not in my life, my whole life, I've never visited a museum. I find this is a joke, you know, but it's true. I never appreciate art too. And after what I have done, parents do ask me, why did you put art in? I say, when they learn art, they will learn how to appreciate you. Appreciation is what the focus is. Appreciation is my purpose, because I'm the first person to fall in love with art. It is so important that children need to know too. And I didn't know that. And children who look at these things, I was wondering, I was questioned by parents, why suddenly art? I asked, isn't that beautiful? Isn't it good? You can teach children to appreciate. And in the little stories, you know, it tells you the history. It tells you the culture of different countries. It tells you not only why, how did this come about? It tells you, see the history. In those days, we do have this trishaw in Singapore. And that's why, and how is art related to science? Well, you need to have science knowledge in order to be an artist, in order to be an architect. Although you know you need to make a beautiful London Bridge, but how do you do it? So you need to understand science, you need to understand maths, and you must also have an artistic mind. All the time we were just looking at STEMs, but no one looking at art. And when I started personally, I took over the art. I read a lot. I spent hours and hours trying to understand art. And today I can tell you, parents, for the first time, didn't even know we have 44 pieces of sculptures in our garden by the bay. They didn't know that in our botanical garden, we had Chopan. And what is he doing there? Chopan is never here. And why do we have them? So it learns from science, a little bit of art, a little bit of history, and language has not forgotten. Everything written there is in proper English and nothing like what we think in our mind. Comics, that's broken English, you know. They thought there's no proper language inside, but not for science adventure. With the children in mind, they become very knowledgeable. They learn English. And even we have parents from China, they love our book because they say, I learned English from science adventure. That's good news. Thank you.
Hello everyone, thank you for taking the time to join us today as we share with you more about using CPA method in a STEAM classroom to build a strong foundation in maths. Before we go into the topic proper, let me introduce Marshall Cavendish Education, a global leader providing world-class educational content and learning solutions for schools and education centers. We are the only Asian publisher who is an endorsed partner of the Cambridge Assessment International Board since 2019. MCA's curriculum is progressive and designed with extensive print and digital resources which are interactive, seamless to use, and customizable for the different learning standards. Now, let me introduce our first speaker, Dr. Norhuda Musa, who is a master trainer in mathematics. She will be sharing with you more about building a strong foundation in mathematics with specific reference to the CPA approach. Dr. Huda has over 20 years of experience teaching mathematics in a Singapore school and has been actively championing the use of current mathematics practices in Singapore schools and sharing these practices to teachers locally and internationally. I will also be sharing with you more about how to integrate the CPA approach into a STEAM classroom. For me, I graduated with a postgraduate diploma in education from the National Institute of Education in Singapore. I've also taught for 5 years in a Singapore secondary school. So without further ado, let's get into the topic proper.
When we talk about Singapore Math, our focus is more on conceptual teaching rather than procedural teaching. Now, procedural teaching simply means, for example, you tell the children a certain set of rules or algorithm for them to follow. Conceptual teaching is different, is where you, at the focus of the lesson is on the children learning the concepts and not so much about the ways and how to doing it. And also we focus on mathematical problem solving. Now that's key because in mathematical problem solving, you would have reasoning, critical thinking, creative thinking, flexibility, collaboration, communication, connection. All these things are all embedded in problem solving. So let's take a look at Bloom's taxonomy here, right at the bottom of the screen. What we've done so far is that what we made sure is that the first 3 levels are very significant. Now, don't underestimate the low order thinking skills because they are very, very crucial. They are crucial because they form the basis of any foundation in mathematical learning. So what is the first level here? It's knowing how to count basic numbers, and then knowing what those numbers mean, and then applying it to solve, to add, to be able to subtract, to be able to multiply. So these 3 things are basic skills that the children must have and that we must provide them opportunities to learn and embrace that. Now, once the first 3 levels are achieved, that's when we start moving to the upper levels. All right, so we will start moving to analyzing. We will get the children to analyze the problem that is at hand, and then we will get them to assess what's going on here. What do I have? What do I need to do? And then from there, we move on to the last part, which is they create something. All right, they put everything that they have assessed, analyzed, and then they create something. It could be in the form of a solution. So this is the Bloom's taxonomy that we strongly follow by. All right. Then the next thing is what we're going to do today, we're going to take a look at these 4 things. I will show you what CPA is. I'll explain to you what spiral is. And I'll explain to you what problem solving is. And then how we achieve mastery. Now, mastery is really, really important because you don't want to be in a classroom, spend some time with the children to do all these beautiful things and then not achieve mastery, because mastery is the focus. That's the reason why we're doing all of this, to achieve mastery. So the focus is also on mastery. So what we're doing is we're just not knowing how to do it. We are also figuring out, why are we doing this? Why are we going through this route? Why are we not just giving them rules and algorithm for them to choose? All right. So when we talk about the 4 things, CPA, spiral curriculum, problem solving, and mastery, we did not create it ourselves. All right. What happened is that we actually borrowed these theologies. They are the ones who came up with all the theories: Brunner, Deans, and Skem. Now, I'm going to talk quite a fair bit on Brunner, and I'm going to talk quite a fair bit on Skem. I'm not going to focus so much on Deans because of time on our hands for today for the session. So what did we choose from Brunner? Brunner feels that learning comes in 3 phases. The first phase is the inactive. The inactive is where children actually use things to count, to arrange, to sequence. They must touch it, they must feel it, they must move it. And that's when the learning starts making sense. And the next thing is, once they have finished that inactive stage, that's when they start going on to the next stage, which is the pictorial stage. Now, in the pictorial stage, it's actually very simple. What they have learned in the stage here, the inactive stage, is represented in the pictorial form. That's all. So this is just a recording of what happens here, and the recording is then demonstrated in pictorial form. And once these two are carried out successfully, then the symbolic stage, the abstract stage, will come into play. So what we did was we borrowed Brunner's theory. All right, we use concrete materials, we use pictorial representations, and we finally introduced the abstract symbols. So we call it the concrete pictorial abstract approach. In Singapore, that's what, in your books, that's what we call it, the CPA approach. We don't call it inactive, pictorial, and iconic or abstract. We don't use that. But the idea came from Brunner himself. Now, why do we do this? We do this because some mathematical concepts are really very abstract, and it's not really easy for the child who is like really young, probably 6 to 7 years old, to be able to be doing subtraction or addition with renaming. So what we do is that we give them concrete materials to play with. Now, to them, they're actually playing, but as a teacher, as a facilitator, you're no longer imparting knowledge, you're facilitating knowledge, because the knowledge is then pushed to them to discover. All right. So what you will do is you will have an objective in mind. From that objective in mind, all these activities are laid out for them to try. Now, in that trying, what these children are doing is that they think that they're actually playing unconsciously, and in that play, they will start making some sense. Once the sense making starts kicking in, that's when the aha moment. When I say the aha moment, means that's when, sorry, where's my cursor? That's when the learning part starts kicking in. The learning starts kicking in when everything starts making sense, when things become meaningful. So the first stage, again, is a concrete stage where we use concrete objects to model problems. And then we move them to the pictorial representation, where there are visual representations to help them reenact what happened at the earlier stage. And then that's when we start introducing symbols and numerals. All right. So so Brunner feels that when they are learning through this way, they will need so much of your guidance and your support. So that's fine. Because why? When they start doing this, it's something new for them. So it's always, they're always relying on you. But once they get used to it, once they understand the way of doing it, they understand the concepts, they become more independent. And that's exactly what you want them to be, independent. So all you have to do is just to facilitate the learning. But at the start, the reliance on you as a teacher is really very heavy. But the reliance will then be lesser because the empowerment will go to the children. All right. So how is our CPA unique? Now, there are many concrete pictorial abstracts going around in the world, but why is ours unique? Simply because all three stages occur in one lesson. You don't do concrete today, and then you do pictorial tomorrow, then you do abstract the following day. That doesn't happen here. What happens is that when you do concrete, the children will then immediately remember what happens in the concrete stage and then draw it out in the pictorial form. And that's how the learning supports each other, the two stages. Now, if you leave it to tomorrow, chances are children may forget what they did before, the day before. So what we do is we pack them all together. So the concept that we teach are all in bite sizes so that they can be carried out in one lesson. All right, so we have got the concrete, we've got the pictorial, and this is where we start introducing symbols like numbers, operational signs. All right.
So now let's move on to look at adopting the CPA approach in a STEAM classroom. So first of all, what is STEAM? It is an educational approach that uses science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics to guide students in their inquiry process and to develop their critical thinking skills. A STEAM classroom features student-centered activities that interest the students. So they aren't likely to get sleepy when they're involved in a project-based lesson that asks them to solve a real-world problem. So they're up and moving as they gather materials, they plan, they construct, and they test prototypes. And noise is something that is very natural, it is welcome, it is very normal. Okay, so how do we integrate the CPA approach effectively in a STEAM classroom? Now, one of the key features of the CPA approach, as mentioned by Dr. Huda earlier, is the use of manipulatives and getting the students to experience and handle physical objects. Okay, so through that, they can then make connections and meaning of the math concepts that is trying to be conveyed in the classroom. So these manipulatives could be anything from items in your classrooms like stationery to household items that you could get your students to bring into the classroom like ice cream sticks or candy. So this is bound to interest the students as they engage in hands-on activities. They understand that learning mathematics doesn't simply have to be rote learning where they absorb information in a one-way manner from the teacher. Rather, they can engage and better internalize the concept that are being taught. So get your students to engage in group work. As they communicate and collaborate, they tend to gain a deeper understanding of the subject as well. Right? So do not limit the students and give them the space to explore for more meaningful learning. We hope you found the sharing useful. So before we end off, let me just share with you some of the products and services that Marshall Cavendish Education offers. So under virtual learning and teacher support, we have our MC EduHub, which houses a range of digital products to help support your teaching and learning. We also have Marshall Cavendish Institute, which is a subsidiary of Marshall Cavendish Education, and we offer a range of professional development courses for educators. Okay, additionally, we also have several primary math learning materials, such as our My Pals Are Here Math series, as well as our Cambridge Primary Math 2nd edition. For more information, please contact our country manager for Malaysia, Yanni, at the following email address, yannilin@mceducation.com.
Trusted in 83 countries by over 150 million students, Britannica School is the go-to site for all research, with accurate, factually correct and up-to-date content for teachers and students of all ages. Aligned to the curriculum, covering core subjects. Britannica School is designed to encourage discovery, critical thinking, inquiry, research skills, and the sharing of information and ideas among students and teachers. Featuring encyclopedia articles, video content, images, journals and magazine articles, editor-recommended websites, ebooks, games, and other helpful resources. Support tools such as Read Aloud, a variable font size, and double-click dictionary aid students' ability to easily access content. Articles are presented in 3 differentiated levels, engaging students of all ages and abilities with the option to select the level appropriate to their comprehension proficiency. Dedicated geographical tools, World Atlas and Compare Countries, provide country profiles, up-to-date statistical data, visual media and article content on every country. The My Britannica feature allows students to add, tag, organise and share content with each other, while the Lesson Plan Builder and Browse feature make it easy for teachers to create and share content with their students and colleagues. Free with Britannica School, Britannica Insights is a Chrome extension that ensures your students have a trusted research companion with them for their general web searches. Accessible anytime, anywhere and on any device, Britannica School is dynamic, delivering content through a fast, intuitive interface. Our dedicated support specialists will oversee the implementation process and provide the necessary professional development to ensure seamless adoption for your school. To find out more, simply visit us at elearn.eb.com.
Thank you. Glad to be here today. At Britannica, our aim is to break with the past, to reimagine a new and better way of learning in order to shape a brighter future for all. Leaders of tomorrow are being molded in our classrooms every day, and it is our responsibility as educators to provide authentic, real-world, personalized learning experiences. This forum presentation will explore STEAM education, but allow me to start with some interesting statistics. 65% of students in K-12 education today will end up working in jobs that do not yet exist. Almost 100% of jobs will require critical thinking and active listening. 70% of jobs require mathematical knowledge, and 60% of jobs require oral comprehension and expression. Statistics such as these ultimately impact the content and pedagogy of our education systems. Therefore, STEAM education is even more important in today's educational institutions because it provides opportunities for upskilling and educating students for their future employability to make a positive contribution to society and a successful existence in a fast-paced, globalized world. STEAM learning is a holistic, interdisciplinary approach that combines science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, while providing opportunity for learning within authentic tasks set in a real-world context. As shown by the early statistics, future employers are expected to acquire competencies such as problem solving and collaboration. STEAM education achieves this because it is interdisciplinary. Learners transfer their knowledge across disciplines, therefore they creatively solve problems in a different context, both in the classroom and out of school. STEAM also teaches students critical thinking, communication, creativity, and innovation, arming them with the skills to learn, live, work, and participate in society successfully and positively. According to Ashley Jess, Assistant Professor of STEAM Education at Augusta University, the 4 key components of authentic STEAM education include: first, integrative. Integrative STEAM education has the ability to be flexible, adaptable, and dynamic to meet individual students' needs. Learning is personalized and motivating. Second, intentional. The goal of STEAM education is to develop globally literate students. Our focus should be on the application of learning and knowledge, but not the achievement. Third, design-based. STEAM education is based in design. This is the central component. Students develop the ability and confidence to repeatedly work through the design process to produce a solution. Possibly, they will encounter obstacles and failures along the way, but that's okay. This is how they learn. Finally, the arts are equal. When design solutions meet needs and wants, it is also important that these solutions are visually appealing. Artists, too, construct design solutions to real-world problems. This is illustrated in the design of a bridge, which meets the needs of connecting two pieces of land across a void or body of water while being architecturally appealing. However, there is clear evidence that points to challenges relating to STEAM education, despite best effort at implementation and additional financial support. Some of these include disagreement about how STEAM education is defined, lack of effective STEAM education and what this actually looks like in the classroom, and lack of connection between teacher training and practice. To support your STEAM education, Britannica offers customizable STEAM learning solutions that blend technology, content, pedagogy, and real-life problems to inspire curiosity and a joy of learning. An example of such a solution is in Japan with the METI partnership, where Britannica and the Japan Ministry for Economy, Trade, and Industry have collaborated to create a learning experience that will help students succeed beyond the classroom and into their future. This solution provides students with opportunities to learn and use skills suggested by the OECD on skills for future jobs, and engages them with tasks that help address the UN Sustainable Development Goals, such as climate change and affordable and clean energy. The METI partnership draws from real-world challenges, such as setting up a habitat on Mars that benefits from 3D printing solutions, to problem-solving the removal of plastic and garbage from the oceans. This enables learners to move from understanding to experiencing and applying knowledge, resulting in the development of new knowledge. The experiences foster independent and collaborative learning amongst the students and empowers them to take responsibility for their learning and realize the impact of their voices and actions. Elements of the project allow for both teacher-led instruction and independent student-led learnings. Initially, the project starts with a knowledge acquiring phase, followed by a design project to solve a real-life challenge, such as climate change. Throughout the entire project, students are supported by a comprehensive framework, encourage them to make choices about their learning, therefore develop independent learners. Creating learning experiences that engage students in cycles of design and redesign requiring mathematical and science understandings provide powerful opportunities for deep learning. Involving students in the design process is essentially in both engineering and artistic undertakings. Today, educators are teaching and guiding a new generation of tech-savvy students, and therefore, education must be delivered in ways that are seamless, personalized, and integrated. Learners must be adaptive to tailor the experiences for each individual's level and their rate of progress. It must occur in real time with individualized learning pathways, identifying a learner's strengths and weaknesses. Furthermore, digital collaboration tools and cloud-based platforms bridge the gap between time and space, allowing learners access anytime and anywhere. In conclusion, educators must collaborate, improvise, and challenge teaching practices, try new things, and break habits without fear. All this can only happen with the support of administrative and executive staff by providing access to time, resources, and encouragement. Thank you.
Thank you to all the ladies. Thank you. Your presentation has been truly inspiring. Actually, I'm so lucky to moderate this session. In fact, all of you are winners. In fact, for every segment, like Betty, for the graphic novels, I mean, for the comics, for science, you are number one in your area. I mean, competing with thousands of other publishers around the world, you can get 65% market share in Singapore is phenomenal, actually. And Marshall, of course, is the number one not only in Singapore for your maths, but all over the world as well. Your maths books has been used, and the branding of Singapore maths is also phenomenal. Judy for Britannica, of course, with with 150 million students using your system. Wow, that is really, really crazy. It's bigger than many countries actually added together. And I have to learn from you. How do you have 100% market share in Australia, and UK, US is almost close to 100%. In fact, we've been telling our government they wanted to do it, but the process to implement for the whole country takes forever. But I'm so glad to have you guys here. Due to time factor, we actually going to cut people's lunch time by a bit. But we have to be fair to every speaker because everybody plan hard, work hard, and there's so much that you guys wanted to share. I'm so glad. So I will give one person one question, all right, from the audience, and I hope that you answer it within 1 minute, not 5 minutes. Okay, all right. The first question, I'll go with Judy first. Now, Judy, this question is one of the teachers asked, what strategies can be used to make young people feel they have the capability to do STEM activities, and how does the inquiry-based learning integrated with the STEAM? Over to you, Judy.
Okay, great question. So I think as I asked the first, I think for as educators, we all know that good teaching include the planned intentional teaching, but teachable moments can happen at any time. So it is these moments that lead to the spontaneous learning. So in that sense, it is quite important for the teachers to engage the students in thoughtful and intentional learning activities that promote the investigation and exploration. Try to make it fun, like integrate images, videos, games, and provide the hands-on experience as much as possible. So that will give them the ownership of the activities. And also use lots of, say, why, what, and how questions to encourage the deep thinking. And also you can integrate other learning skills like critical thinking, like collaboration. So all these will help to give the young students have the ownership, the confidence, the capability that they can feel they can do the STEAM activity. And for the inquiry-based learning to integrate with STEAM, basically we know inquiry-based learning is a very, very good learning skill, and it allows the students to explore using the questioning, hypothesis, and throughout the discovery, curiosity, testing different possible solutions. So to integrate that into the STEAM, it actually reflects the process and thinking that the scientists or the engineers or the innovators, they use in the real world. But it has the focus, the focus is hands-on and it's creative, like a problem. I think the whole process will involve, like say, design, testing, questioning, retesting, discussing to solve a real world problem. So I think the integration here is the key is the hands-on and to solve the real world problem. So in that sense, the inquiry-based STEAM learning is more than a science investigation. Yeah, that's why I hope it helps. Yeah.
Thank you very much. In fact, I really love your sharing about the statistics you gave. Wow, we need to think about all these statistics and how we should plan for the future. Okay, for the next question, I'm going to direct to Marsha Cavendish. Cat Law will be representing both the speakers. Now, there's a lot of interest for your presentation and product. It's really scientific, the presentation. People love it. Just want to ask you, one of the teachers was asking, how does Marshall Cavendish Education support school to facilitate home-based learning now? All right. And then the things that can the teachers be upskilled to deliver a successful maths curriculum in their schools accordingly? So over to you, Kat.
All right, thank you, Kit. So yeah, apologize that Leefen and Huda couldn't be here today. So I'm leading the product specialist team anyway. So just let me take the two questions that have been asked. So the first question is about how Marshall Cavendish has been supporting schools in home-based learning, because due to pandemic and lockdown in many regions around the world, we have actually a digital platform where the books that I think we have published have been converted 100% and for usage of by the students as well as teachers. Aiding the teachers, I think, besides what Huda has mentioned about the CPA approach in mathematics, we have also a suite of digital products and services that would complement those print materials to help the teachers not just doing the frontal teaching today, but over the platforms such as Zoom or even Microsoft Teams. So with these, technology being the frontal, for pandemic, and, it requires the teachers to be able to upskill themselves. So our professional development portal, which is a self-directed 24/7 for time-poor teachers who requires professional development in any area, be it, for example, understanding how to design effective online lessons, because I think a lot of teachers weren't prepared, when pandemic hits them, they are either lacking in technological skills to use those platforms, or they are lacking in pedagogical skills to actually conduct a lesson effectively online. So we actually have this portal that aids the educator to upskill themselves, whether is it pedagogically. So we have, for example, how do you actually teach a CPA approach? Not just the theory part, but taking it from a lesson planning perspective, taking it from example activities that they can work and deliver in their classrooms, to, for example, productivity tools like using Microsoft Teams. Or it could be a case where trendy topics like data science, which is very trendy in this world now, that they learn about artificial intelligence, handling big data, for example. So of course, these are actually available online via our EduHub platform for both teachers as well as students. Thank you.
Oh, that's a lot of information to digest. We are glad there's so much that you guys are doing to help the education community globally. Okay, now is the time to ask Betty a question. Betty, you got to unmute yourself to answer. Now, nobody has bigger heart than Betty. People love you for the authenticity, the honesty, the way you share. In fact, I heard from the publishing community from Singapore, the government actually listens to you because you tell the truth and directly to anybody. That is what people love you about. Now, I'm going to ask you a hard question, which is posted by one of the MOE officers. Does it feel good to be the creator of the very first STEAM comics to solve a pain point for parents of young children? Over to you, Betty.
Not an easy question, but I would say it was actually not the pain for the parents of young children, but it was the pain for myself, when I first have to heard about STEAM, and then I read a lot about, the topic theme, and it's like a global trend now. And then I said, art, oh my God. I know nothing about art. Even in school, I was never an art student. And what is art, what is so important though? So I started to read. Every night I spent hours, for several days I spent hours, how to incorporate art in the comics, especially for children. And then finally, I come up with this, what I call is another hurdle. Do you know that? Is writing stories about plants and all this was easy, but not to talk about art, how to incorporate art. This piece of art, this is art, one piece of drawing is also art. But then come to the topic art, how do I relate to children art? So it was actually a real pain for myself, as I say, I never appreciate anything. Anyone who give me a piece of painting, I do not feel like, oh, this is beautiful. I travel many countries. I've never visited museum also. It was not my interest, But today I can tell you, I finally that the starting point is how to influence children, how to tell them. So I would pick things like, for example, I saw street art. Why are people drawing that? Isn't it you will be fine, Then I find out that, oh, actually you got to get approval from the government to draw on the walls, And why do they draw on the walls? So I have to find out everything about this for myself. It was like a real lesson to study. It's the first time that I at this age, oh goodness, why didn't I pay attention to this when I was young? Then I said, it's important. I need to do something that for the young, I took out a lot of street arts because I was afraid that you do sculpture, painting, so children may not understand. But I did the street art first for the very young ones, in my art, because I have I have a science adventure for the young, from 5 to 8. Then I said, okay, it's appreciation, because if I start to appreciate, I know how to tell children. But if I don't know anything, how could I make children understand? Like a teacher, I'm not a teacher also. And I say I have to understand myself. That's why I have to read up so much, And in the end, I really deeply fall in love. And after this pandemic, I said I'm going to start to write down. Whenever I travel, I need to visit. And in my stories about art, I do explain to tell children, to allow them. Parents ask, why do you have art in this? And I started to actually educate parents. I say, do you know what is the word appreciation? Love. It will inspire them. How a piece of stone, that can turn into Joseph. I said David. Sorry, it was David. So I say, how people draw art, and why do they draw on the wall? Actually, it talks about your culture, history, and children will look at it. Did it happen that way? So it will actually. The art is an expression, and children can draw what we feel inside too. And they also, when they read about the stories, we have short story about how this person wanted to do the Chinese wayang, why did he want to do chopan, and it all comes from individual artists themselves, or the sculptor. Why did he want to do? Like we talk about also like Michelangelo.
10 more seconds for you.
So sorry. So at the end of the day, I'm so sorry. I always never had a script, and in the end, I know that yes, children need to be motivated, need to be inspired. And they need to have some appreciation in their heart, and that's how science will be complete if we have art inside. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for the time.
Well, thank you for sharing. It's actually lifelong learning in real life practice, right?
Yes.
And as we go along, no matter how old or how young we are, we continue learning. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank our panel speakers for sharing. It's been really a fantastic session with you.